if a problem is an unmet need, in this case the problem is, global health or human health, we need food to be produced in a way that is regenerating that landscape and is nutritiously dense. Now that is a solution to a problem, the need to save this planet.
That was Charlie Arnott, and you're listening to The Regenerative Journey. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and internationally, and their continuing connection to country, culture, community, land, sea and sky. And we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
G'day, I'm your host Charlie Arnott, an 8th generational Australian regenerative farmer. And in this podcast series, I'll be diving deep and exploring my guests' unique perspectives on the world so you can apply their experience and knowledge to cultivate your own transition to a more regenerative way of life.
Welcome to The Regenerative Journey with your host, Charlie Arnott.
G'day, welcome to episode 1 of the third series. Actually, I'm not sure whether to call it a series or a season. I kind of like the word season. They use that on the internet, on the line, on Netflix and others more than series, I think. But nonetheless, the third instalment, let's just say, of the regenerative journey. Very excited to be kicking it off again. Well, I've had 2 months away from the microphone. Well, actually not from the microphone. 2 months away from releasing the weekly podcast, which I actually have missed that process. I mean, it's quite hectic at times. I trust that season 3 will be a much smoother ride as we all pull together to keep it on track for a number of months. I think we are still in the process of working how many episodes we're going to do. There are more than enough potential interviewees to last a couple of lifetimes, to be honest, because there is so much interesting and wonderful storytelling to be done by our wonderful interviewees. So it's actually I'm spoiled for choice, I have to say, and that's a wonderful thing. So look, welcome to the show again. This I can't remember which actually episode this is in the total lineup, but I thought that it was probably worthwhile me kicking off season 3 with some insight, if I can call it that, without pumping up my tyres too much. Insight into where I see regenerative agriculture and its associated modalities, which there are many of them. How I see that sort of playing out in 2021. What's happened in the last couple of months, and I guess. For want of a better word, insight into a number of the sort of trends I see happening and continuing, I trust, because they're all good trends generally in this sort of space. And certainly I'm looking forward to digging into the insightful journeys and wisdom of my interviewees as we roll through this instalment, which maybe you can tell me, anyone out there, a bit of feedback, series or season. I'm not sure what really matters. So look, before I get cut to the chase with sort of some insight, as it were, the last couple of months have been wonderful. I've spent a lot of time at Hanaminno, our farm. It was such a wonderful January, I can't tell you, because the previous January was very challenging. We had we didn't know it at the time, of course, but we were just coming to the end of a very challenging sort of 18 months with very little rain. We were in massive rainfall deficit, I'd have to say, and the country's still playing catch up. We've had a beautiful rain. 6-7 months now. It actually started raining in about this time last year. Early February, it started to fall. We just sold literally within a week or so. We just sold sort of the last of a fair chunk of cows. We'd kept some cows, but there was a last sort of sale of our cows that were probably, if I'd known, had the crystal ball, wouldn't have sold. Nonetheless, that's just the way we roll. It was a decision that I made, based on what I knew at that point in time. So, Yeah, look, January was amazing. It was reasonably cool. It was sort of good in a way to have had the benchmark of the previous January, just to really appreciate it and be grateful for, the people on our team, the grass we had. We oodles of grass, probably like fair to say nearly twice as much grass as we probably could have, deal with at the time. The cattle prices are amazing, amazingly good for those selling. A bit tough to get into if you're buying. And sheep not so different. Little birdies flying around. Is that a noisy miner? He's sitting there. Going, what are you doing in my garden? And the beautiful magpies. Don't you love that? It does remind me of Macca. Macca on a Sunday morning, the ABC. Is Macca still on? He used to always have, like, as a little break, he'd run a little few magpies. Like that. It was pretty much like that. Good on you, Macca. So, look, that was the farm and that was the 2 months. But, really looking forward to 2021. Looking forward to filling your ears and airwaves, I should say, with some wonderful stories. So, look, moving to... before I get on to, dare I say, insights... I just want to let you know that we have, and I know you've probably seen it on newsletters and that sort of thing, and I'm not even sure if we had it going when we finished there end of last year. I can't remember now. But Patreon is a wonderful platform where people can sign up to basically support, in our case, the continuation of the regenerative journey into production. I'll bang on a bit about that later on, but there's some seriously good stuff going on in terms of, if you sign up, membership benefits, I guess you'd say, and exclusive content. I'm still getting my head around what that even means. So, trends in the space. I'm going to start with, I guess, the other end of the spectrum from where I am. Yes, I eat food like most people do, but I guess I really consider myself more a farmer than just a good old fashioned eater. But I'd like to start at that end of the spectrum. There's no doubt, and I don't know as many people who could actually argue the point that there's, many people, more and more, a growing tide of curiosity, and maybe there's a bit of curiosity, maybe fear, and hopefully just intrigue and empowerment in consumers, in customers, in people, in eaters, wondering not wondering anymore because they can find out, wanting to know where their food comes from and who's grown it and how they've grown it and what conditions and what are the environmental benefits and what are the nutritional benefits. And that, I've got to say, it's a really simple concept. It's a simple thing to say, and it's the trend is obvious, but the impact of that, the outcome of people just being more curious about the food is absolutely has a global significance, not just to what they put in their shopping trolleys, but where they're actually going to, and that's a nutrition thing. And I know I drum that into everyone all the time, really, but it's just a wonderful, wonderful trend. If you were going to be excited about any trend in the world right now, I reckon this is the one to put your money on because. And literally, probably, because I'll get to that later on. But the benefits are undeniable that, for environmentally and nutritionally for the human species and pretty much all species on the planet, which is a, big thing to say, but, I think not too far from the truth. This style of farming and the philosophy around it and the people who support it, it's absolutely critical. It's critical that the customers and consumers and eaters that this trend is happening because it's you guys, it's anyone who eats food, buys food. That's the demand we need to create, and that's the demand that is being created, and that's wonderful. People are getting curious. They're asking better questions, and they're getting excited. And their kids, kids are such powerful, wonderful motivators and motivations, and for the parents, and they, it's a not a tired old thing to say, but it's certainly something that's said a lot. Is that we do these things for our children and the future generations, absolutely. But those children don't have to wait for us to do stuff. I'm not abdicating responsibility at all, but we don't have to sort of think, oh, rightio, well, no, we'll do this for our children, so when they get to this point that they'll do okay. it's really the responsibility of parents to show the children how they can contribute now. So it's dual-pronged, it's the parents setting those examples, going to the different places to eat, and source their food, and the children understanding and sort of appreciating that that's actually normal, and they do it. So when, it's time to go to the shops, they just know where to go. They get to that age where they're doing that themselves. So, we're not. It's not like we're doing it now so the kids can do it later. It's like, let's all do it now, and it sets some wonderful examples for living, for life. Because food's kind of important for life, I reckon. So, who are these people? These people are not just people who eat food. They are. I think a lot of families are getting on board this stuff. And as I've said before, and I said today, I forgot to mention that I'm actually sitting in the beautiful garden here. At Binnaburra of Fee and Adam Gibson, who are hosting for the third time in about 6 months one of our 2-day introduction to biodynamics courses, sitting in their wonderful garden, and which Adam has the plan to turn into a bit of he is turning into an education facility, as it were. So we are very honoured to be here in all this bird life you can hear. So where was I going with that? I can't remember now. Families. It's mums and dads who are really getting excited about where their food's from, and the children are getting on board, and getting curious, and they it's really the women who hold, probably the wrong expression to use, but hold the power to make the most amount of change. I think, men, we're good at finding solutions and getting things done, But I tell you what, if your wife or your partner is the one who's supporting you to do that, you'll get it done twice as quick and twice as well, And if those partners and those wives and those women in businesses, whether it's on farm or just in a household situations, are really they're nurturing, they're passionate, they're strong, they're resilient. I'm not trying to bash men about all this. I'm just highlighting the wonderful traits and characteristics, and I am generalising somewhat, but that the women are the ones, I think, and I'm not only the first person to say this, that will probably play the most significant role in the healing of this planet. From a nutritional point of view, who's buying the food, what food is being bought and what's being done with it in the kitchen. And even in the medical world, not so much medical world, but in the health space, around the nurturing of people, whether it be through meditation, whether it be through medication, which I'm not a big fan of, but it certainly has a place, and the appropriate use of that, and even stepping into plant medicines and those things. You look around on social media or anywhere, who are writing those books, and who are really in the space. Well, it's the women, because they have this sort of, as I said, men are looking for solutions, and we just want to bang it out and get it done. But the women are putting some really deep thought into this, and they're let's all get them to be, I don't know, prime ministers and the like. The countries that have women prime ministers and so on are doing pretty well, I have to say, setting a wonderful example. So, men have. If you're a man out there listening, so I'm not bashing you around, as I said. I just want to highlight to the world the role that women are playing, and doing it absolutely so well. So those eating food are making a stand and really demanding, and that's creating a wonderful demand economy, and that's where we should be heading, I think. And if that demand is there, then farmers will front up. We're really good at innovation. We're really good at seeing an opportunity and making what we currently have work to fit that need. And let's just say, if a problem is an unmet need, in this case the problem is global health or human health, we need food to be produced in a way that is regenerating that landscape and is nutritiously dense. Now that is a solution to a problem, the need to save this planet, without making too grandiose statements about it. As an example, and I just want to plug Harris Farm here, not just because they have, and I'm honoured to be their regenerative farming ambassador, as it were, but here's a passionate family, a model retail business in Australia who has and I don't know where else it's been done in the world really, is identifying in store the products that have been regeneratively grown. And now I know there are some regeneratively grown sort of certified programs that are popping up around the world, and that's great. I think what Harris Farm, the point of difference here is that they've created their own, and it's not, it doesn't lack integrity, and it's not like a shortcut. They're actually bothering to contact their producers, suss out exactly what they're doing, and put them through a verification system that I'm involved in to identify them again in store as if they're regenerative. And, it's not putting the skids on any certification, current organic and biodynamic certification. It's more about just acknowledging that there are lots of products on shelves in Harris Farm and other retailers that are actually as good as, if not better, than the certified stuff. As I've said before, I've tasted plenty of crap organic food that's really organic by default. They've taken chemicals out and they don't really support that with a fertility program and a sort of an environmentally nurturing sort of program. So that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful initiative. I trust that it will be taken up by others at some point in time. But the fact that Harris Farm have put resources behind it and they're backing their suppliers, yes, it's based on trust to some degree, but there's a lot at stake if those suppliers aren't doing as they have said and have identified that they do. And so that's again in store for customers at that end of the food cycle, the food system. They have the opportunity to go to their stores and find the good stuff. So I think that's wonderful. That's another sort of another benchmark for me that is saying this is happening when those guys, like Harris Farm, get on board. Then that's identifying to me and everyone that this is a significant movement that is taking place, and their involvement is just going to accelerate it even more, which is fantastic. We're getting we're putting on a taster, the biodynamic taster. Session on the 13th of March, a bit of a plug for that. Ryan Watson, the Fairlight Butcher there in Sydney, is helping us put that on. He's got a little session the night before with Charlie Massey and myself, and I think there's tickets available to that. They're opening up more tickets for that event on the night before. But my point is, we're getting more inquiry from people in the city to learn about biodynamics, which is wonderful. And, they want to know where their food's from. You know what? They actually think they want to go and grow their own food and identify and understand why the stuff that's done regeneratively, whether it's organic or biodynamic or is better for them and why they should be supporting that sort of food. So that's wonderful. So look, one more thing I want to say about that was, and I've said it before, and this is somewhat comical but true, no one's walking into Harris Farm or any greengrocer for that matter and saying, hey, can you get in some more of that GMO corn because it's delicious and I want more of it. Or saying, can you get in that lettuce that's had a douse of, some other pesticide or something. That is simply not happening. No one can argue that. They're doing the opposite. They're going to those stores and they're saying, you know what, you had organic lettuce here last week. Can you get some more in because it's all gone? Or, you know what, can you just give me the stuff that's not GM? And that creates a whole discussion around, labelling of food, as I've said before, and many others have. When you walk into a store, it should be there should be two labels. If it has to be a labelling system, and there currently is food and organic food, we should be able to walk into stores and actually identify food being the organic, normal, non-chemical food, and the stuff that's grown with chemical should be called chemical food, or non-organic food. Or chemically enhanced food, or whatever you want to call it. So, or traces of chemical could be found on these foods. I think that's a much fairer and a much more descriptive statement because before chemicals, everything was food, and I don't know why the organic movement and those who are certified and even why they have to set themselves apart and pay money for that right to be labelled. It should be. Maybe it should be the other guys who should be labelling their food chemical and get it tested. And if they don't want to be labelled chemical, well, they go get it tested and to prove it's not chemical, because that's the questions that consumers, customers, and clients and eaters are asking more and more. That's what should be identified in store, not the fact that it's organic. There you go. That's what I reckon. So let's move on to another trend, which is, again, I sit sort of fairly squarely in being a farmer, is that there's much more interest, I think, weekly, monthly, for knowledge, a thirst for knowledge and curiosity. And there's some degree of fear, I have to say, from the farming sector as to, what is this regenerative stuff? How do I become a regenerative farmer? Is it profitable? Will I be able to transition without, my bank having a heart attack? I guess all the answers to those questions, yes, it is, and that's probably another podcast, another interview at some point, or with some of my interviewees perhaps. But it's the wonderful thing is people are asking those better questions, and it's sort of the questions I was asking 15 years ago, which led me down this path. Questioning my current thing, and as I've said before, there's a wonderful situation here for farmers right now, and they're identifying. It doesn't matter which side of the equation they fall on here. A lot of them are actually on both sides. They're saying, I'm actually not sure I want to do this anymore. I'm not sure I want to be spraying chemical on the crop just outside the bedroom window of my daughter, or my family having breakfast there or dinner or whatever it is. I don't know if I want to watch my paddocks blow anymore. And I'm not saying this is like the typical, conventional farming, stuff that like I used to do. I'm happy to bag myself out. But this is the push away stuff that I was thinking many years ago, so I sort of know what it's like to be questioning one's current behaviours and values, and was I living those values? So that's a wonderful position to be in, because I think it's healthy to question your current behaviour and alignment of values to whether it's your business or your family life or your activities. So that's a kind of good thing. And then we've got on the sort of the other force that's at play here is there's a pull towards a different way of doing things, and in this case, call it regenerative ag or different practices of biodynamics or organics, whatever it happens to be. It might be a philosophy wrapped around that, or it might be just a practice, just one simple practice which is different, which they're going, I'm going to give that a crack. I've heard about this yeoman plough stuff. I'm just going to buy one and rip up a few lines, or a natural seconds farming course, or one of the courses I did, which changed my life, which was the Grazing for Profit course put on by RCS, Resource Consulting Service Australia, 16 years ago in Cowra. I think it's 2004. 2004. Thereabouts. And it's those sort of opportunities that now exist. That back in the day, before I sort of did this sort of stuff and was and transitioned, I think there wasn't as much. There was certainly opportunity there, but I think there was probably more of the push away. Farmers identifying I want to do things differently. But the wonderful thing now, it's like a vortex. You just once you make that decision to go and change, as I said, it might only be a practice, it might be a thought, it might be a paradigm, it might be a tool like an implement. Then there is so much support around, whether it's in book form, it's courses, it's individuals. Even the banks, I'll get onto that later, but even the banks are supporting. They're looking at this stuff. It's like, how much carbon have you got in the soil, you farmer? That should be appearing on the balance sheet. It's not so much there's no excuse for it now. That's not what I'm saying. I guess it's if one wants to change, there are less barriers. There are less barriers physically and mentally and financially, I have to say. So, who are changing? All sorts of farmers, who are looking at this and questioning their current behaviours. Vegetable growers, horticulturalists, broad acre, cropping and grazing. So there's no sort of, in my view, like a particular sector in agriculture that is going faster than the other, and that's kind of reassuring that the application or the transition to a different way of farming is something that is accessible for everyone. You don't have to been doing something in a particular way to then give you access or a one-way ticket to do something different. This is because, again, it comes down to the principles of this of farming differently and working with nature apply in any situation, which is wonderful. It's more, as I say, you got to change the paddock between your ears first, because that's more the mental hurdle. Totally understand it too, because I had that, It took a lot of pushing and shoving and tension events and other things for that to for me to then take that step. So that's that's the way I see it. Again, that's not new. That's not things you haven't heard before. But I just wanted to make a point and emphasise that it's a growing thing and it's a wonderful thing. Our courses are filling up. Our biodynamic courses at workshops are filling up. We've already sold out for Burra, which is in about a month, less than a month, 3 weeks away. 3 weeks yesterday, it's truth. It's already sold out. Actually, we sort of had to, we just had to cap the numbers there. We've got ones in South Australia coming up in early May, and they're selling fast too. So any crow eaters down there, or anyone nearby wants to sneak across the border, as long as there's no COVID restrictions, I would just book yourself in. Don't worry about the COVID thing. We'll sort if there's a cancellation just because of the border restrictions. We'll sort that out then, and you'll get your money back or get a credit. So don't feel that's not that's a risk, as it were. We'll sort that out. So we'd love to see anyone down there in the beautiful Barossa Valley in the McLaren Vale, and that just because we're in those environments doesn't mean we're just going to be drilling down on biodynamics and its relationship or use in vineyards and so on. So. Again, principles are going to apply everywhere. Hey, look at the time, 25 minutes. My God, that has gone quickly. I was wondering how I was going to fill up the time. Maybe I'm rabbiting on too much. What else we got here? Oh, the sort of third point I want to make in terms of sort of trends or what I'm seeing and feeling and understanding is the interest that the financial sector, which is a pretty broad term, I know, is taking in regenerative agriculture from an investment point of view and supporting and being involved and adapting their current funding models, as it were, and structures to essentially provide funds to farmers and organisations in that space. And this is a wonderful thing, because this is the support crew, right? This is you're driving around your regenerative car, or let's just call it a business, and you need support crew. You need your mechanic, you need the guy who puts the fuel in, and you need the guy who's going to polish a dashboard, and there's a lot that needs to be supported in driving a car, as we all know, and it's not dissimilar in a business, and so these cars are getting faster. These cars are getting the regenerative ag car. There's a concept. Is because it's getting that support around it that it needs. So the banks, I don't know, call that fuel maybe, call it some mechanical help there, the oil. I don't know. Drop in any sort of descriptive concept in there you want. My point is that this is the wonderful thing that's happening, that we are having banks and other funding organisations and, private and public, that are looking at this. Cultivate Farms is a wonderful example of this. Sam Marwood and Nigel Sharp and others are, helping people who need to get themselves into farms and onto farm and essentially funding them those opportunities. That's one example. Different funds are being opened up, people can invest in, and then those will be applied with different criteria to different regenerative agriculture situations, whether it's a business that is on a farm or it's actually the purchase of those farms. So, look, there's so many wonderful things happening in that space, and when you've got big business, stepping in, that can be a little bit scary, but when you've got banks taking note, and that's something they're starting to look at on balance sheets. That's sort of the questions they're starting to look at, and even getting valuations done on property, and considering the potential, and formulating a value based on not just the bloody sheds and the fences and the house and how white the bloody picket fence is around the house and that sort of stuff. I'm not being cynical about that. It's just it's a visual thing, and there's obviously the the geography and proximity to different things that comes into it, of course. But what has not really been looked at to date, what's under the ground, So whether you're a farmer or a banker, that's, again, some of the most important real estate, It's what you can't see. It's what's under your feet. So with the banks coming on board and, pegging, and this is sort of happening now, pegging interest rates to if not the sort of carbon levels and the percentages of carbon that are being sequestered or levels being raised, the other practices and other KPIs that are being met from the point of view of the farmers, the bankers, that they can actually, it reduces risk, reduces risk to drought, reduces risk to, the influence of the market, because, people don't have to panic sell their sheep and cattle, and they are in a better position to go out in the market when it's cheaper, when other people probably may not be in the market, to go and buy those and restock. So, I guess it's beholden to the banks and the financial sector to play catch up, And as I said, it's a bit like a farmer adapting a practice to their farm. Whether it's a bit of machinery or it's a grazing management. It's also that concept of adaptation should be reflected in the financial sector as well. And the banks adapting they don't have to go and rewrite the whole banking textbook. It's just about how can they serve their customers better, their farming customers, and I think they want to. And of course, there's always, they're going to make more money. Well, yeah, that's fine. They're in business to make money. They're not denying that. But I think, when they start looking at some of those more subjective assessments of property and people and the businesses, it doesn't make it greyer. It actually puts the people back into those, into those businesses. It puts the colour back in, and it puts the humanity back into it. Because I think. I'm not hacking on you, any bankers out there, by any means. I actually applaud the fact that you guys are looking at this space much more seriously and contributing in a meaningful way. I just think that it's, the fact that sort of stuff is and can be included on balance sheets. It's really it's a really positive thing. It is. It's putting the humanity back into finance. What else have I got here? Look, I think that's really wanted to say there. Adam Gibson, who's the host here of the Biodynamics thing, he's certainly in that space as well, and doing some wonderful things in partnership with some of with Sam and Nigel. And again, watch this space. Whether you've got money to park, whether it's your super money, whether it's just some assets you want to farm into, I won't use the word plough into, put into regenerative agriculture, or you are a farmer looking for some funds and looking to partner with these sort of people, or you've got land you want to sell, and perhaps it's a bit of a succession play that you want to make sure that your land is being sold to and looked after by people that are similar to you, that who are going to continue the wonderful legacy and the ecological sort of asset that you're creating there through your lifetime, and then and to some degree guaranteeing or assuring yourselves that that's going to continue. It may not be your family member, it may not be your son or your daughter, and I think that we're going to see more of that too, where that becomes more important. Succession is a many-headed beast and not always done well, and I think the more people understand the value of their assets, and it's not just, cows in the paddock and cash in the bank, but it's what's under the ground, and the ecological value, and also the legacy, the importance of legacy, and the respect, that comes with that. We're going to see more people considering, at least, that succession also includes people not in their family. I think that's a really healthy thing. And obviously it's all agreed to, and it's all sort of, It's something that I think more and more people are looking at doing, and I think Sam and Nigel are doing wonderful things to facilitate that, and that's healthy. We want the right people, not the right people. We want the appropriate people on the team, to be farming and growing this nutritious food and improving the environment, and I don't know. It's not for me to say who should and shouldn't inherit land. I'm just sort of, I guess, putting on the table. It's a consideration as to, I reckon, how those legacies want to be, continued. And that's not to say that conventionally farmed land can't be, inherited by. There may not be a legacy necessarily to environmental legacy to continue. It might just be there's an asset, there's land. and giving those people who may arguably do a better job of looking after that land and producing nutritious food, giving them a leg up into that space and to create businesses. So look, that's big. Oh, I'm nearly out of time. I should be wrapping up soon. And I just want to finish on getting back to season 3. You know, we've got some wonderful people lined up. David Pocock is he'll be episode 2. Well, he'll be after me next week, which is very exciting. We've got people like Dr. Libby Weaver lined up. We have it wasn't very well prepped, was I? Cindy O'Meara, interviewed her the other day. She's fantastic. Nutrition, plastic-free, mermaid Kate Nelson. I'm going to grab Neil Perry. Neil, if you're listening to this, you are... I'm coming to get you in Sydney. He's already agreed. That's all right. I'm not stalking him. It's not weird. Aaron McKenzie, who's Origins of Energy. Anyone who... I've been trying to track him down for ages. He's moving his gym and all sorts of stuff. Fantastic example of someone who's taken, well, not just diet seriously, but life and movement and health really seriously, and helping others. So that's a wonderful thing. Look, I could go on for ages about who else. Maggie Beer, I'm coming after you, Maggie, because you are a classic and I love you, and I'm going to South Australia, so I'm going to try and line you up down there because you would be a riot, I reckon. So the other thing, little question I was going to put out there was Zoom. So with the whole COVID show, which is something I was thinking about talking about, but I don't know, I think everyone's pretty over it, and I am. Let's just bypass that one. I was wondering what everyone's thoughts were on Zooming, because every interview I've done to date has been face-to-face. I think, surely, they're all face-to-face, or side-by-side. And that's the way that I've really enjoyed doing it. And it wasn't necessarily a purposeful, I am only interviewing people, face-to-face. That was just how it rolled. And then it actually did become a thing. It's like, no, I really enjoy this sort of forum and the engagement and the connection that you form, or hopefully form, with the interviewee. But obviously with COVID coming along and no one's flying, that took out Zach Bush. I was going to interview him last year. Diana Rogers was coming over for the launch of Sacred Cow. Nicole Masters was going to do a course at Burrawa and be cruising around the neighbourhood. And many others who had, in principle, said, yeah, cool, let's do it. Well, that's not going to happen anymore, not face-to-face. So I'm sort of toying with the idea of Zooming with them, or whatever there's other Zencast or all sorts of other little platforms I could use. So if you could be bothered, let me know maybe 2 things. If you think that's worth me trying, because I'm not sure how that's going to sort of translate in terms of connection and not so much authenticity, but in just sort of the style of interviewing that I love doing. And I'm happy to try it, of course. And also, if I'm going to go, bugger it, I'm just going to Zoom around the world, then please let me know somehow. I'll tell you what, go to the website and leave your details there and just tell me. That'd be the go with the I can probably even tell you, contact at charliearnott.com.au. Fiona will field those questions and let me know who you want from me, suggestions from overseas, because I'm up for it. If I'm going to Zoom it, I'm bugger it. Like, if it's just about getting a decent internet connection, then I'm willing to do that. So let me know, please. Angelica, my beautiful wife, she suggested the other day John Chester, listening to a Goop podcast. Gwyneth Paltrow, who's a classic. Oh, she's great, I reckon. Anyway... John Chester, who's he was the man in the couple. How do you say that? He was the male, who in the couple who were I've lost in the movie Biggest Little Farm. And it was fascinating, his chat, and Anne said, you got to interview him. So, if I'm going to Zoom, I can jump on people like John Chester. Anyone else, you let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Now, just to wrap it up, I am going to give Patreon a plug, because it is the new platform we've got underway. Thank you so much to those who've already signed up and already benefiting, I guess, from the membership, as in they're getting monthly webinar with this month, which will be the day after this actually gets released. So hopefully you're all listening to it on day one. Charlie Massey, it's been a bit of a coup. He is getting hammered for appearing at things, and there's only one of him. So honoured to have Charlie doing a monthly webinar as in the month of February. For an hour or so, just it's Q&A. It's what are his thoughts at this point in time. So it's access to people like Charlie Massey essentially for membership to Patreon. That's one of the memberships. Transcripts to the interviews and a few other bonuses, like we'll get some codes going and that sort of stuff, discount codes. So look, I hope that that interests you. We put a lot of thought, and we're a bit nervous about doing that actually because it was something we hadn't tried before, and it was also the regenerative journey is free. Essentially, you can just go on any phone or whatever and listen to it, and it wasn't, we certainly didn't want to put any hurdles up for people who wanted to listen to it, because I love doing it. And I love the feedback, and I can't tell you how many people have said, I've listened to your podcast and it's really inspired me to do X, Y, and Z, whether it's to grow carrots in the backyard or buy a farm even, or just change what they're doing. And that's all I need to keep going, in terms of the regenerative journey. There are costs involved, of course. We've got a car going by. What's going on here? We've got the electrical man. The Sparkies are here. Where was I? Look, I just love doing it. And so we're a bit nervous about doing this particular platform, but what we've also identified is it gives us an opportunity to give those who want to support us access to, as it were, our interviewees in a more intimate way. And I think that's, I love that as well. And I'm really grateful to the interviewees that, and ones that I haven't interviewed, I'll invite them as well to share their experiences on a sort of not a one-to-one by any means, but certainly a much more intimate sort of a forum to give access to and live. So, look, that's the plug for Patreon. Just go to my website, charliearnott.com.au, and click on the podcast button at the top there, and it'll take you to that page, and you can do what you want. But I trust that that's something you think you'll find value in, and I'd really appreciate anyone who decides that is a good idea and good use of their money. Just one last thing too, because it is confusing sometimes. It's in US dollars. It's $5 or $10, and it works out to be like $6.50. Who says $half anymore? $6.50. How funny. $6.50 or $7, and $10 is, I don't know, $11.50 or $12, something like that. But anyway, you'll work that out when if you get that far. What else? Just a couple of thank yous. Thank you to Reese again. Thank you to Fiona. Reese putting this together, helping with the editing and so on. Fiona for cracking the whip on me, making me get and do this. Thank you to all the interviewees that are yet to be interviewed and have been interviewed for Season 3. Really excited about what we're going to achieve this season. And we're going to be, it's going to be broad again, okay? You can expect some doctors and, I don't know, nutritionists and meditators and all sorts of stuff. I think that that's just what goes on. I can hear some voices in the background. Where have you been, you bloody Sparkies? That's what he's saying. So that's a wrap. I hope you're still here listening. 42 minutes in now, Reese. I hope I haven't. You don't have to chop any of that out, because I think it's okay. And really excited that you've had great feedback. That people are looking forward to the launch again and getting back into their weekly dose of the regenerative journey. And I'm really looking forward to getting back, on the mic and chatting with these wonderful people that are sharing, generously sharing their stories and in many ways changing lives. And that's the intention of this, is that, if people can just get one little bit of gold, little gem from each interview or a interview, then, that makes it all worthwhile. And often it's those, from little things, big things grow. And that's certainly a bit of a theme for the regenerative agriculture and regenerative living kind of movement, which is what it's all about, is, you just get a whiff of this stuff and you can't unknow it. It's very hard to put aside and not get attracted and not get more curious. So that could be the word. That could be the word for the season. Curiosity. I love it. Okay, I hope you're curious enough to tap into next week's episode with David Pocock on the regenerative journey, episode 2 of season 3, and so looking forward to sharing all those stories with you over the next few months.
This podcast is produced by Rhys Jones at Jaeger Media. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe, share, rate and review. For more episode information, please head over to www.charliearnott.com.au.